Go ahead and start. Welcome to the Peacekeeping Task Force Strategy Task Force Session 20. My name is Louise Campbell-Anthony. I am the affiliate director here with the Peacekeeping Task Force. Today's session is for our peacekeepers. I put in the chat those 3 documents we're going to go over. If anybody comes in later, somebody please put that in the chat for them. If you are here wanting to be a model county, go ahead and put your name and the county that you're on in the chat and your email address. I will contact you. And if you're peacekeepers here, if you are a county Rave, if you are a PKTF liaison, militia commander, continental marshal, who else we got? I think that's it. Put your name in the chat and what assembly you're on. So today, we are turning a page. I call it turning the page because now we've launched the American Government's Resurgence Project. We have to get focused with boots on the ground strategy now. So first, I want to highlight the Session 19 entry report that I sent out July 20th. I want to highlight something in here for those who haven't gotten the report. It's in the chat. But I want to highlight this part with Anna that I communicated with her over the last couple of weeks. In one of our PKTF directorate meetings, she was talking about how, or her and Joe was talking about and agreeing with each other that back when the American Civil War, quote unquote, commercial conflict happened, what was missing was a peacekeeping task force who would have been that arm back then to tell the Americans that we have to reconstruct our government. And so that's how they were discussing the role of the peacekeeping task force. Now, I want to bring your attention to this conversation I had following that meeting with Anna. Anna has stated in her email here to me, this is interim report July 20th. She has stated, I am not certain where the Resurgence Project and the Model Assembly's effort fits in all this, or if it does fit in the PKTF bailiwick, but we are all learning day by day. I realize there's a real need for an established weekly meeting time and am trying to find it. So I came back with a response to her based on what I understood her and Joe discussing of the role of the peacekeeping task force to sound the alarm back in 1860s. So I said, the PKTF's role is to evaluate, educate, coordinate efforts between the de jure and de facto government counterparts. That's what it was created for. Well, yeah, that's what it was created for. I'm commenting. In the area of peacekeeping, according to the charter, that's a tall order. It has a myriad of interconnections in between to make all of these communication channels effective in achieving our desired end results. That's where the Resurgence Project fits. We are going for that systemic solution that you talk about. We are that PKTF that we talked about in our last directorate meeting with you, where you recognized needed to have been there after the Civil War happened, when we needed to let the people know our government needed to be reconstructed. That's where the Resurgence Project and the model assemblies fit in. Now we need the state assemblies to see their role they play in the strategy behind the Resurgence Project. They are so focused on seatment that they have sacrificed outreach, which is our foundational mission. That is to rescue Americans. They don't see that they can't reach seatment without focusing on outreach into the local communities. We can't restore a government of living people when the living people don't show their faces as the government in the local communities and even display their names and faces on their government websites. Yes, they need to have government websites. Most of them don't and think their educational websites are government websites. I felt the need to create a short official launch presentation to convey this message to them as we have shifted into a different space. That's the link to that video that I shared in the last couple of meetings. We need you as fiduciary training our coordinators to promote the project to the state assemblies so they view the PKTF as providing them this service for the benefit of all the state assemblies in support of their efforts to reconstruct our government. That's what the Resurgence Project was designed to do. However, everyone has to fulfill their role in the project for it to achieve our desired end that should have happened 160 years ago. Now, those statements to her resulted in her at that following coordinator training call, resulted her in saying that the PKTF Resurgence Project with the model counties are moving forward. That's what she announced to the coordinator on the coordinator training call following that. And that's the timestamp and everything. So if anybody is wondering and debating what in the world model counties is about, or why are we focusing on the counties, this is why we're focusing on the counties. If we're going to reconstruct our government, we have to be in the faces of the people to be recognized as a government. And as I see our reconstruction, it's not possible to establish and maintain a seatment of services without constant inflow of qualified people to operate those services. And I said qualified. We get a lot of volunteers, and thank goodness for the volunteers and for their energy and their willingness and their initiative. But we do need qualified volunteers to run a government. So I wanted to highlight that as we're thinking about our deployment as peacekeepers, to keep in mind, I'm going to present to you what I think the ideal deployment of the Resurgence Project is. So I'm going to move to this execution here. Now, I've invited the Peacekeepers and Sheriff's Organization here. Founders is Andrew Ink and Adam Bonner. We've talked a little for a while. And I'm inviting them to assist me, to help me help the peacekeepers get trained on how to go out, boots on the ground, and execute effectively the transference of government, because that's what is happening right now. That's what the Resurgence Project is going to accomplish, to transfer the power of government away from the territorial subcontractors back into the hands of the American government. I'm leaning on PSO, Peacekeepers and Sheriff's Organization, to help me envision and lay out how that need to go. So as you guys, Andrew and Adam, are listening to me, because this is our first official meeting where I'm going to lay out my vision, lay out how the strategy task force has laid this whole blueprint out. And then as you're listening to me lay this out, I'm going to invite you to tell me or give me some initial thoughts on how you can help, how you all can organize the peacekeepers and help us deploy this in an effective way. So the number one goal of the transference of power, I said here, is to empower and assist the townspeople to lawfully and officially declare themselves an unincorporated American town and accept the duty of governing their own communities. This is how I see we ultimately get that recognition as America's sovereign government. The townspeople to accept the duty of self-governing as an American. That's where we're trying to go here. Now, ideally, I see this being accomplished with the county tours in this way. The county tours, ideally, should be 2 tours back to back. Or no, I shouldn't say 2 tours, 2 public meetings back to back in one location. Like this. Because this is happening on county by county, a county assembly needs to invite that state assembly and host that state assembly in that county location. The county, on the first meeting, the first public meeting, they will post when the meeting is going to be, that flyer or whatever, wherever, however they're going to post it, and let the public know that there's going to be a meeting. And I said within a 2-mile radius. So ideally, that county that is identified has a county assembly already structured, ideally. 4 people, 5 people, doesn't matter how many people. They just know that they are a county and they're in assembly and they are the American government. As long as they know that, know who they are, we can work with that. So that county invites their state assembly into that community. And that county also have put out the public meeting flyer to let everybody know, come here for this public meeting. That first public meeting, the state assembly is introduced, the county assemblies are introduced. And then I'm going to say county assemblies because we're in a 2-mile radius. We're really not trying to go county by county. We're really not trying to do that because people can travel. They can travel an hour away or they can travel 2 hours away. I wouldn't go any further than that. And we don't have resources really to be doing that one county at a time. So the first public meeting is for the state assembly and the county assembly to introduce themselves as assembled and let the people know in this first meeting it's going to present the international public notice, a thing that's more state assembly authority. That is the type of first public meeting to have. After that state assembly finishes that public meeting, the county assembly in that area will follow up with a second public meeting. The second public meeting will go into talking about how they now need to self-govern. You will now go into a deeper conversation to them specifically, how they need to start self-governing. And if I were to choose, I was talking to somebody this last couple of weeks, if I was to choose any one thing in this resurgence project that I could pinpoint as a pivotal part in getting that recognition as America's only government, that one thing would be to tell those people, the townspeople, they need to rescind their voters registration. That would be the one thing that I would pick out of all the things, all the strategies here. Because government exists by the consent of the people. Every time that man or woman votes in those corporate elections, they're giving consent to the subcontractors to govern them. And they know it. That's the purpose of the vote. I want you to serve me as a public official. That's what they know. So we need to convey to the townspeople that they need to rescind those voter registrations and prepare to elect, not vote, elect their public officials. Now, how this all transitions out, that's what you're thinking about here, Andrew and Adam. The county assembly's second meeting is going to get down into the grassroots of what those townspeople have to do to start self-governing. you're going to tell them that the municipal corporation is bankrupted, and all the municipal, and this is what I'm thinking here, all the municipal cities and villages have to be liquidated and nationalized. That's the term that Anna used, liquidated and nationalized. They should no longer be there. They're bankrupt. They should no longer be there. This is why I say this is a very pivotal time in a historical moment, because we are right at the cusp of the transitioning happening. We have to be out there and do the transition. I mean, the territorial is going to take it if we don't get out there and take it ourselves. But the first step now is the municipal have bankrupted. So what do we do with those resources? What do we do with the mindset of the people right now? Transition them. So if the cities and the villages are now franchises of the municipal, which is bankrupt, this makes sense. We can easily make this make sense to them. They can understand where we're going with this. So this is the second public meeting following up the state assembly meeting. Now, while the county is having this second public meeting, the state assembly is moving on to the next cluster of counties in their state to do the same thing. And it goes, the state assembly and the county invite the state assembly into that area. Within that 2-mile radius, they start having the conversation and international public notice, the fraud, declaration of land law, and all that kind of thing. Telling the people they need to correct their status, they need to inform the de facto that they're no longer complicit. They do all that at that first meeting. Then they leave. The state assembly leaves that location, but the counties in that cluster, they will hold a follow-up second meeting there to move into the grassroots aspect of getting those townspeople transitioned out of the mindset of corporate government, cities and villages, into their own American towns. And then it goes all around like that in their state. And I have the counties. I'm seeing the counties as the ones who are inviting the states, because in government, in respect for the jurisdictions, in order to come into a local community, you have to speak to the leadership in that community to get permission to be there. That's why I have counties being the invitee and the host. Now, I didn't think that at first. It just came up as the strategy task force was thinking about all these strategies. It's like, oh, think about that. So that's why I'm talking like that now. Which assembly officers to send on the county public meetings? Now, if you've seen the flyers that I created, the example flyers, you see my face on one of the examples. And then the three officers I said suggested to go. Now, the importance of how some examples of the flyers don't have faces. So let me point this out. Faces are important to our resurgence. So I think your face should go on the flyer. That's my opinion. Some people for security reasons don't want to put their face out there, but I don't know how you get around this if you're going to be a government. But it's important. If you're the living people, you have to show a living face. For the state assembly, who should be sent to the public meetings? I would suggest any of this group of people: an outreach chair, committee chair, a public safety committee chair, which the assemblies are just now learning they need to have. And I say the public safety committee chair because that particular committee deals with the safety of the public. I want us to convey to the public that we're peaceful. We are mindful of the upheaval that this is going to cause, We're trying to make the transition as smooth as possible, answer as many questions as possible, keep everybody safe. That's why I think the Public Safety Committee should be there. General Assembly, that chairperson, the PKTF liaison, the militia commander, recording secretary, and a public notary. These, out of this group of people, these are the most important offices that I think need to be at representing the state assembly. For the county assembly, the outreach committee chair, the county reeve definitely has, they have to be there if you have one. And if you don't have one, that's going to be one of the offices you are going to emphasize to the townspeople that they need to elect. Deputy reeve, the PKTF liaison, if there's one on your county, the county organizer or coordinator, whichever one you got, and the recording secretary, county recording secretary, if you have one. Out of the group of county assembly officers, these are the particular ones I think should be sent to on these public meetings. Now, this diagram is for me to bring home why I'm emphasizing the counties. The county assembly has to reach out and it has to reach in, because its jurisdiction affects both the state assembly reconstruction and it affects the American towns reconstruction. They are the ones in the middle. That's why organizing the counties is very important in accomplishing this transition that needs to happen. I'm very grateful for the initiative that the model counties and the courage that the model counties have in stepping up to spearhead this, because it's critical that the counties organize and see the critical role that they play in helping to get our government at all levels reconstructed. We didn't know at first the need for the towns. We didn't realize that at first, but throughout the process of the strategy task force and we thinking this and going this angle and that angle, it clicked. It came into our forefront that, hey, there's another level missing here. So now that that level is there, I can see how the county is the middleman between the reconstruction on both ends. Now, this is where the Peacekeepers lay out. They're actually running a tour of their own inside the assembly tours, because they have to go meet the de facto. They have to deliver the message to them and get their cooperation or capitulation to assist in this transference that needs to happen. We might not think we're ready. We are, I know we're having problems, but we don't wait till we're ready to start planning and start moving in that direction. Move in that direction and things will fall into place. If we have the right mindset, we have the vision, we got a blueprint, we know where we're going, we'll figure it out as we go, and we are pliable, so we can pivot on a dime. If we realize something's not working, PSO, if you're out there training, you're going to get the feedback from those people on the ground. They're going to say, I went to visit the governor and he said such and such, and I didn't know what to say. You're going to be able to pivot. You're going to say, okay, I know. Well, y'all going to figure it out. So it's important that the Peacekeepers be that pliable and know that you're going to run into some things that we haven't thought of yet. So now we're moving out of the abstract strategy into boots on the ground, real life. Does it work? We're going to put to test what we've already laid on paper. So the Peacekeepers' role is going to be to maintain the peace and order while we're doing these tours, and they're going to be interfacing with the corporate heads in the background from what the assemblies are doing. They're going to be having meetings with these corporate heads and getting them to be aware, informing them This is what we're doing. We're transferring the power of government. The municipal is defunct, and we are forming the American towns to accept back the self-governance of our communities. You work for a franchise that's defunct, needs to transfer the power back to the American government. You need to declare. Now, see, they're going to be telling them, you need to declare yourself an American. You need to correct the public record on your own behalf. And we need to let them know the criminal information notice liability. If the public record doesn't get corrected, then you will be, the evidence will show that you're complicit with the human trafficking. So on the left, I have here the peacekeepers that have a role to play. And then on the right are the de facto officials, and the corporations, I think, need to have a visit. Now, what we want the peacekeepers to do is work from the head of these corporations to try to get them to send the orders down, so it can have that trickle effect into what the assemblies are doing in the communities. Because while the assemblies are in the communities, if those Americans that's non-declared, think they're U.S. citizens, don't hear a confirmation from those de facto leaders that they voted for, that we are legitimate, we are there to transfer power back to the people. If they don't hear from those corporate heads a message that's consistent with what we're saying, it has potential for civil war. And we don't want that. So what the peacekeepers are going to be doing in the background is trying to effectively get their cooperation. Now, I have on here the de facto officials and corporations. I have and corporations because they're a pivotal player in us achieving the transference and stopping the crime. The assemblies passed 3 public laws. One has to do with outlawing birth registrations. We need to send a message to hospitals that they no longer can issue and have mothers sign birth registrations. How are we going to do that? We need to have that conversation. And the post offices, we need to let the post office need to know that whenever they get a letter that says refuse for fraud or use of fraud or whatever, that this is actually mail fraud, and they need to do something about that. This is a second place. If I were to pick anything out of this strategy that I think are pivotal and pivotal strategies that we need to hone in on, this would be the second one. The first one is the voter registration. The second one is the mail. Because if you never get a letter, the corporations can't do nothing. If the letter is sent back as fraud, the corporations can't do nothing to you. They can't take you to court. They can't do much. You know, this puts a monkey wrench in their plans. Voter registration and mail fraud. Now, here is a list of things that the peacekeepers are going to accomplish that I'm thinking you all need to accomplish. One is visiting the courthouses, because those need to go. They're municipal. The county courthouses are municipal, which means they need to be liquidated and nationalized. What does liquidated and national? That's my question. What does liquidated and nationalized mean? I don't know exactly what that means. I just know Anna keeps saying it. So that's these are the list of things that the peacekeepers need to accomplish while they're out there, boots on the ground. Peacekeepers must deploy in graduated waves, and this is how I have it in the strategy. The strategy plan is first line, second line, third line, and multiple times to increase potential for cooperation and capitulation. One visit is not going to work. Any strategy that says I can just do this and get them to recognize, I don't think that's going to work. Not a standing of a seatman of an assembly, not a continental marshal going out there serving papers. I don't think one thing is going to work. It's going to take a layer of things. That's why the Resurgence Project has a layer of things connected to it, tentacles, to go out into all those areas that they have strongholds in. It's like wearing them down, and cutting the tentacles one by one to make them less effective at what they're doing. Peacekeepers have to clearly convey and empathize with what this means for the livelihood of the individual man or woman that you're talking to. Empathize with them, but clearly convey what we're doing and convey to them the real criminal implications if they don't course correct. And the assemblies have to do that as well when they're at the public meetings. I want to use the word art. It's got to be an art form for us to be able to tell you you're doing crime and be peaceful at the same time. Peacekeepers, y'all gonna have to train us how to do that. How do you be peaceful saying you're a criminal? You know, I don't know. But I have the first line of people going as the people who's handing the instructions, who's giving them the information. That's the liaisons and the militia commanders. You giving them, letting them know they need to course correct, letting them know you're part of a franchise that's been bankrupted, letting them know that, hey, we're transferring government power, so you will be seeing more of us, and these are the things we need done, and giving them the PKTF training reference guide. Put this on your wall so all your employees can read to be prepared for our next visit. So that's our first line. Of course, they're gonna have questions. Of course, they may not even sit down with you. Take their name, because there's a follow-through. If they're not going to sit down to be involved in this transition, then there's a consequence. But that's the first line. Now, the second line I have as the county sheriffs, mainly talking to the de facto sheriffs and police officers to convey to them the peaceful transition that we are making. They also have to change their status. They have to correct their status. What are they going to do? I don't know what they're going to do. But that group of people, the municipal city police, the cities and village city police, that's our potential force, manpower, because they all got to become American, and their municipal villages and cities are dissolving. How do you convey to them what this means for their livelihood, what this means for them criminally if they don't course correct? So that's the second line. And then the third line, and these lines, when I say first line, second line, third line, they don't necessarily have to be like back to back or wait for this one before that one. That's what you peacekeepers are going to figure out. I'm just saying these are different conversations that need to happen. Now, the third line is the Continental Marshals. I don't know if they have to have the postal area courts up to investigate a crime of mail fraud or not. Or do they just need to get in a complaint? I don't know. But I want to focus on the mail fraud, and I know that is the peacekeeper who does that. And the fact that the hospitals, the corporations, are involved in the human trafficking, if they continue to issue birth registrations, that's human trafficking. So that would be the Continental Marshals area. And I want to focus on that because we have a public law that just outlawed it. So how are we going to get the hospitals and the Secretary of States to stop issuing birth certificate bonds? I want to focus on that. So this is the line of things that those different areas of peacekeepers, the roles that I think they play in cutting the tentacles. of how they got the stronghold on all these different areas. Now, if I want to talk about the third most pivotal thing, the resurgence strategies talk about, that would be to stop birth registrations happening in hospitals. That would be the third pivotal thing. If I whittled down all of the strategies that we've designed and put into this project to, if saying that we don't have the manpower or the resources or the people to do all these things, to do all these county tours and whatever, consistently do this, deploy this, I would say, okay, let's narrow it down and pick a few things that we want to strategize on focusing on. It would be these three things: stop the voter registrations, stop the birth registrations, and stop the mail fraud. If we don't focus, if we don't put in all these other things, how can we do those three things? Here at the bottom, this is the last little piece, and then I'm going to open up the floor. Here, this piece here is just my rendition of how I think we can have that the peacekeepers and the assemblies in their public meetings can have the conversation about how the municipal is defunct and we're making a transition into the American government, and what role, how did it happen? Where do we need to go from here? That's what this, I'm not going to read this, but this is just me having that conversation. Imagine how you could have this conversation at your public meeting or sitting there talking to the governor. That's how the conversation that I would, that I put together. The sheriffs are the faces of our peace. I think that will ease the angst that the American public are going to feel when we go tell them what we have to tell them. And the sheriff or the county reeve is in that middle area where everything happens. Everything is happening on a county. All this is happening on a county. So if I were to pick one office that needs to be elected to get this accomplished, that would be very difficult. But if I had to pick one, it would be the county sheriff. And as we're out there doing our assembly tours, that's one of the things I have on the list of items on my blueprints. While you in your county tours, tell the people they need to elect the county sheriff. That's part of the message that you're going to deliver to them while you're in your public meetings. And they need to be our face of peace to calm down the uproar and the anticipation of people not wanting to accept what we're about to tell them. Okay, so now I want that's what I have. I wanted to lay that. That's ideally how I envision the transference execution going. You see how everybody has a role to play in this. Not one assembly is going to get it done. Not one county sheriff is going to get it done, but it's going to take us all with the coordinated effort working together to get this done.
I didn't like that, Louise. I'm going to get it done.
I bet. I've
been trudging through the mud, and I'm telling you what, it's coming. It is coming.
So with that, then, Andrew and Adam, I want to open up the conversation, because what I want to happen is for you guys to help us organize the peacekeepers to get it done, because we know Andrew gonna get it done. So Andrew, show us how to get this done.
Well, I'll let Adam jump in here in a second. For me, I think this is what I did. I don't want to tell nobody what to do, but I thought this was the best way. I went to a sheriff, my commercial sheriff, and said, hey, I need to talk to you because I changed my political status. You know, right away, they're interested because they're like, what are you talking about? So they want to talk with you. And that is the icebreaker right there. All you're doing is breaking the ice. You leave. About a month later, I contacted him again. Hey, I got to talk to you. And I went in uniform. And he was, what is going on here? You know, so I told him all about that. So it was just a transition, peaceful. And you know what? I went through him. I went through the police chiefs. I went through the mayor, went through her security administrator. I'm on to the board of commissions, the city council, and this is where they are going to be told it's over. This is it. They have a chance for amnesty. If they do not listen to what I'm saying, they will not get any amnesty. And that's when, you know what, we're going to have to do what we have to do. There's going to be people getting arrested. That's just the way it is. And it's not until someone gets arrested. You know, I don't want it to happen that way. But when they see that, they're going to know, oh shit, you know, we're going to do it as peaceful as possible. I don't think it'll be a big problem. But, you know, the mayor here in my county seat, she actually, when I told her that I was going to be raising the flag, she brought something up that I never thought of. She goes, well, number one, she said she really didn't have the authority to talk about that. And, you know, I'm like, okay, you're the mayor, but okay, we get it. You have no authority. But she said something about the veterans and how it might affect them. And I thought about that, you know, and I think she was right. So what I've done, well, I'm just starting to do, I've contacted a few of them. I'm going out to my local VFWs. I'm going to have meetings with all these guys. I'm going to present them with my speech. I'm going to thank them for everything and say, this is the fruits of your labor. We're raising this peace flag because you guys got it done. And that's what's going to happen. There is no no's here. I'm doing it. It's going to be, you know, maybe a month or two away, but I am doing it.
Now, you mentioned you in uniform. I think that is an important piece for the liaisons, continental marshals, the sheriffs, militia commanders. When you go meet these people, you have to be fully vested with your authority. If you have to be elected, you have to be trained as a liaison and have your common access badge. You have to have your star. You have to present yourself as legitimate. So, and you'll see in my outline there, when do we launch phase 3? As phase 3, it's gonna vary. Andrew and Adam is already there, but somebody else may not be there. You're not dressed or you're not fully vested. So you have to wait till you're there before you go present yourself. I think the liaisons, they don't have uniforms. We just have business attire and our common access badges. As far as in my outline, I did put in the information Adam gave me at my last meeting of where the sheriffs can get their stars made. And if y'all want to get the uniform you see Andrew wearing, he can hook you up. So you can get your hats, Andrew and Adam wearing, have your assembly, get your uniform so you can be all, you know, dressed the part, be professional. You can't go out there saying you're a sheriff and you don't look like a sheriff. Hey, got your American patch. So that was good. Yeah. So your assembly needs to get these things for you and get you and your, if you all have a deputy sheriff, all of you get in your uniform and get ready. So one state may be ready, another state may not. One county may be ready, another county may not. So when phase 3 happens for you, your assembly will depend on when your assembly's peacekeepers are ready. Now, I know that the liaisons aren't ready yet. They don't have their cabs yet, the common access badges. They're not fully onboarded yet. But we have our next training session starting in August. They will be getting ready then. So phase 3 happens at varying times. Patriot, you have your hand up. Can't hear you.
Hello. Hey, can y'all hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay, this is Rave. So, all right. So I've been taking notes. I had an idea with the rescinding of the voter registration. So we have to remember, anytime we take something away, there will be a controversy. So as much as possible, when it is possible, I believe the way we fix it is we quietly replace it. So maybe there are some things we could do, maybe to change the wording on the present voter registration instead of just completely taking it away. So maybe the current voter registration says something like voter registration. Maybe it could say registration for the local, state, or federal election. You know, just we can change those contracts without completely taking them away, which will probably not arouse so much suspicion and angst amongst our enemies. Also, with using the current voter registration, just what I'm seeing, we own. So Denise brought this up that we are bonded, but it's not us that are bonded. It is our name. And that was done illegally, right? So we own our names now. So if we vote, say it's only the name that is voting in the election. It's not actually us. And if anything happens, because we have the provenance, we can then pull our rank and say, no, this is how this election is going to go because there are Americans, actual real Americans who have voted in this corporate election. And then we control it just by that alone, by pulling our rank. Um, so that is the thoughts I was having with the voter registration. Liquidated and naturalized, nationalized is what I believe you said Anna was saying about it. Okay. So I believe what she's saying is when we go into something, we can serve them, and I've just got this Denise sent me a video, conditional acceptance. So we serve them a contract. Okay. If they don't rebut the contract, then whatever department we just served, that department has now been nationalized. Okay. So if I serve whomever and they don't rebut that as being false for a lawful reason, then now they are nationalized. They belong to the American government. Now, the liquidation will come in if we go in and lay down the law and they don't want to follow, then we say, well, you're under arrest for whatever we need to do because they are then reneging on the contract that has already been decided. It's already settled. And let's see, just another thing to remember. Oh, instead of the face being used, because there are a lot of people who are being attacked physically for this. We can use our thumbprint seal just for now until we can get some buffer security parameters around us. Because, like I said, there are some people who are becoming attacked. And just for us to remember, any controversial issue will be twisted for negative press. So that is why I say if we can get in there and just change some words around, nobody is the wiser. I say we do it. All right, I yield. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Rave. The one thing I want to follow up with what you said as far as taking something away and giving them something. So I want you to hear me what I said as far as rescinding voter registration. And you'll see it on my little outline sheet. I said, tell them, the townspeople, prepare for their town's elections. They have to now prepare to elect their public officials. So yes, we're letting them know they have to rescind their voter registration, but now you have to self-govern. The first step is prepare for your elections, elect the county sheriff, and so the counties, a lot of responsibility, guys, are on you all. The counties are going to have to guide them on what those election sheets will need to look like. And counties, you already have a election committee, however that works. This is where we step in to show them how to start electing their real public officials and declaring themselves a real American town and being self-governing. So yes, we're taking away the voter registration and we're putting in the elections. And these are electors now. They are not voters. So we have to figure out what that looks like.
I see what, Louise, I see what you're saying. What I'm saying is, if you say those words, that alone is going to cause great confusion. So that's why I'm saying, if you just use it, like instead of saying it, we just do it. So let me see. I may have my voter registration card right here. So instead of saying to them, you know, like, oh, y'all have to get ready to elect your officials. You haven't been electing officials. They're going to say, what are you talking about? And then you're going to have to explain everything else. And they're going to leave more confused than they were when they got there. That's just what just what I see. I'm just being honest. So if there is a way for us to present these things and not further confuse them. So,
Right.
okay. I'm looking at my voter registration right now. There aren't a lot of things that would need to change on this. You know, we don't have to change a lot. We have election commissions. We can just go to, because they're not called voting commissions, they're called election commissions. We can go right into the election commission and say, hey, we need to make some changes on that voter form. And this is just for some history. I don't know if you all have heard of David Wayne Miller and what's his name? Forget the other one, Russell J. Gould. And I'm not saying what they did was right, because there's a lot of shiesty stuff. But what they did was they went and they changed the voting form. So what David Wayne Miller, and you can look him up, what he did, he created his own voter registration, sent it in to the electing officials for president or whatever electing office, Congress, everything like that. He served them. And then in his mind, he was the real president because he sent them a conditional acceptance and they basically captured the flag. So I'm not saying we don't have to do all this stuff now, because a lot of this stuff has already been done for us. I'm just saying that if we don't have to say, hey, y'all been voting in the wrong elections. We just make it the right election. And so when we're not going to keep it from them. We'll disclose it in the contract. Okay. But we're not going to be hiding these things. We're going to show them, but in the contract. So when it's time to actually elect, like I said, they're called election commissions. They're not called voting commissions. So technically, for that election commission to hold a voting service at an election commission, they're already operating unlawfully. And we could technically start there. I yield.
So using the same language, and I'm bringing up one of the ballots that I had shared in one of our previous meetings. This is a local ballot. It does say consolidated election. So Rave brings up a point, and it's a good point, to use language that they are familiar with. And how we present it to them so that they don't reject it feeling like we're taking something away. We don't want them to feel like we're taking something away. We want them to feel like we're giving them their self-governance duty. We're giving them their power to be a sovereign again. That thing that they know was wrong and missing, we want to convey to them, we're giving that back, the power back to the people, like Trump say. We're giving the power back to the people. That's what we want to convey. Using the word election is great. Would be better than, using the word voting. But we have to make the connection and help them make the connection in their mind. The other thing I want to show, this is what was passed around at the annual town meeting in my community. It says the electors present at the annual town meeting have the power to. They are already familiar with the fact that they are electors. And annual town meeting, they are already familiar with the fact that they have a town. And this is actually written in the Illinois Code. Connecting the dots so that they don't have to make these hurdles, these mental hurdles of trying to make sense of it. So it is important, I agree with Rave, with using the language so that they can piece it together. These are words that they're already familiar with. Next, Richard.
No, thank you. I'm good. I yield.
Okay.
I got my question already answered. Thank you.
All right. Okay. So, Adam.
Yes. Anything specific you want me to address?
So tell me if you all have any ideas at this point. I know I'm trying to put you on, I'm kind of.
It's all right. I'm multitasking. I'm more concerned with emolument violations and deprivation of property and rights. That's what I'm focusing on currently.
I'm putting you on the spot right now. At this point, break down what's emolument violations for everybody.
Emolument violations are when our, whatever type of contract service provider they are, whether they work for the municipality or these policy enforcement agencies. It's basically when we are paying them a salary and we know that they took an oath. We know that most of them are foreign agents, which nullifies the oath, but they're basically being salaried to commit constitutional violations against people. Whatever they do with U.S. citizens, that's a totally different thing, but I'm worried about those types of things and deprivations of rights under color of law. So I know we don't typically look at their law and use that as our own. However, they're bound to it. Any of the USC stuff, those are federal things that are codified for us to use against them. So basically, if these emolument violations are happening that deprive people of their property or their rights, let alone their lives, qualified immunity is lost at that point. So if we focus on that and letting them know that we're not holding taxpayers accountable anymore, we're holding them liable. We're holding their agencies liable. This has nothing to do with taxpayers. Why am I going to sue them for committing the crimes against whatever right they trespassed on and then expect the unsuspecting American people to pay $50 million or whatever it is? That just doesn't make sense to me. So this is all about transparency of what they're doing, and it's about accountability. So that's what I'm focusing on.
So when you go to the county sheriff or the city police, how do you present to him the emolument violation conversation?
Well, usually if there's like a prosecuting attorney, I put them on notice as well as the agency that I'm going to visit, or I'll send them a notice prior to contacting them or scheduling a meeting. And then when I sit down, I have the stuff printed out and ready to go. So that way I can say, okay, I know you got this. Here's my tracking receipt. I brought copies today. I'd like to have a discussion about XYZ and then go from there. and then
Mhm.
talk about the transparency, the accountability, cause and effect of what their officers are doing, and that the taxpayers are not going to be held accountable to pay for their mistakes because they're supposed to be trained. And what do they use against us all the time? You go to their court. Oh, well, ignorance of law is no excuse for a defense. Okay, well, that applies to you guys because you're supposed to be trained in law, right? You're supposed to know better than just the common man or woman. So, I got a bone to pick with that. And then we go into that conversation. So it can get pretty heated. You just got to be able to, maintain discipline and composure. Um, I'm not there to argue with anybody. I just stay pretty calm, melatonin. And then, they probably get bored and want to take a nap after, but it's serious stuff and it needs to be addressed. So you don't want to have hotheads going in there talking about, we're going to overtake cities and counties and use militias and all this type of stuff because there's already groups out there doing that type of thing. And it's causing us to have a bad name for ourselves. And we don't want that.
Mhm.
So we need people who are professional, who are going to be studied up in all this type of stuff. And they're going to go in there and they're going to execute their message and deliver whatever paperwork is necessary. And then they're going to fall back behind their PSO and PSOA for any further outreach efforts. And then we should have business cards and the website up here shortly.
Mhm. Would you
So,
explain for everybody what the PSO organization is and what the PSOA arm is?
well, it's kind of like a multifaceted effort through the PSO, which is the Peacekeepers and Sheriff's organization. So we have the Peacekeeper side that focuses on peacekeeper initiatives and strategy and different types of peacekeeping efforts. And then we also have a commercial side where we're going to be reaching out to these commercial sheriffs and educating them, offering an olive branch, so to speak, on the types of things that they should not be enforcing against people or the types of behavior they should not be engaged in against people, and the different types of transparency and accountability. But if we can actually educate them in things that we know they get very little on, which is constitutional law, civil liberties law, different types of Americans with disabilities law, if we can focus on those things and educate them where these emolument violations come into play with what they're trained to do or not trained, sometimes they just do what they want to do. We see videos of it every day. The key thing is educating them on where these emolument violations come into play, where these things are going to essentially cause them to have actions brought against them from our jurisdiction. And so they just need to comprehend that. All of this education and information is free as of now. Eventually, it'll grow to where we're going to have people funded across the country.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then the PSOA are advocates. Our advocates are going to be trained up in their federal laws, all of their USC stuff that binds them that they should be following at the local levels, which they don't. And just educate them basically on those types of things and offer outreach, educational assistance to maybe their community oversight committees that they have that are supposed to be staffed with citizens, and then educate them on these types of things. And I would imagine that would probably work very well as a recruitment tool too. So that's just a little tidbit on it. I'm kind of preparing for a couple other podcasts later.
Okay, so you all approach that you're working on is to work from within their laws to show them where they are violating what they're supposed to be adhering to according to their
Yes.
laws. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
If we had to come from our approach and our stance in our jurisdiction, it would make some heads pop. And that's not going to be effective.
Mm-hmm.
The accountability is not going to be effective right up front. That's too blunt. They need time to acclimate to the climate that they're in. They're amongst us over them. and they have
Mhm.
no idea about any of it. Our
Mhm.
history has been being left out, breadcrumbed for over 100 years. I don't
Mhm.
expect anybody to know what I know because I don't think that anybody reads to that depth. But, um, we have that issue in our assemblies. People don't read as much as they should be reading and researching. They just come on and they nod their heads and they just kind of go along with the flow and, oh, that sounds good. And it's just an activity. This is not a retirement activity group. This is something that should be treated as American government resurgence and restoration. And I don't care what people think about it.
Mhm.
So, anyways, that's probably one of the biggest issues that we have, why we're stagnant and stuck across the states. And we need to work through that. So, say no more. I took that as a bet.
So I just heard the strategy that our peacekeepers, PSO, would go with. And what I just heard, correct me if I'm wrong, go in first to show them where they are violating their own laws, to make that connection in their minds before letting them know the law of the land has been changed and you all need to transfer government back to us before even having that conversation. Is that right?
It's pointing in that direction, but we're not
Mhm.
talking about a total transference of power initially because we
Mhm.
have a need for them still. But if
Mhm.
they're going to be acting unconstitutionally or committing emolument violations or just depriving Americans of their rights and calling us things that we're not, because of their lack of knowledge, they will be held accountable.
Mhm.
There's no other way to get the job done and to be able to do our job effectively if there's no accountability.
Mhm.
So, we definitely have a need for PSO and A.
Mhm.
And I just don't think that there's a lot of people, like I said, digging in and doing the research. It's not rocket science. It's really not.
Mhm.
Anna's articles talk about this stuff all the time. If you've read through at least the first 20 of them, the highlighted blue ones that are the main things that are the bread and butter of this whole initiative, you should have enough knowledge base to be able to engage and help
Mhm.
contribute some type of way, whether it's just printing stuff, making phone calls, passing out flyers, talking to your local councilmen, women, uh, simple stuff. It's really not that hard. It's just communication. You have to be able to effectively communicate.
Mhm. So getting their minds, the de facto's minds, wrapped around the 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 admission, I guess, admission that your laws say this, and you need to be accountable to your laws. Just getting them to agree and recognize that would be the stepping stone to getting them to recognize these are laws here that also connects to you're supposed to be following these constitutional laws, but you're not following these either. So once they agree on their own laws, we can transition into the law of the land.
Yeah, I just had a conversation with a lieutenant in another city adjacent to me, and he just wasn't connecting the dots because they're trained in Ohio Revised Code, ordinances, their internal policies. And I said, well, are you good at cards? He goes, what does that have to do with any of this? And I held up some stuff and I go, this trumps that, what you're talking about. That's
Mhm.
statutory civil, and that is not equivalent to the law of the land. It's just not. So it says right here that this governs that, and that doesn't apply to living men and women. It applies to, your corporate fictions and legal fictions. We don't do legal fiction law over here. He was like just completely just flabbergasted. He didn't know. He was like, I was like, how long have you been serving? Oh, 22 years. Okay, so for 22 years, you've been engaged in emolument violations against unsuspecting people. And that realization, I said, that was priceless for me to see because you didn't know. Now, I'm not going to bust your balls about it now, but now that you know, what are you going to do about it?
Are they familiar with that term emolument violations?
I think they just like sweeping stuff under the rug to escape accountability. I think that's
Mm.
what administrative law judges like to do, and they claim that they have total immunity. They don't. Not when you're violating constitutionally guaranteed or protected rights. And that's what I'm here to convey to them. And if they don't like what I'm saying, well, stop doing it, and I wouldn't have to come here and, get verbal. I mean, it's not physical yet, but it will be. I mean, we have the capabilities of snatching them out of their homes just like they do anybody else.
Mhm.
We
Okay.
just choose to do this the peacekeeping way because we have to give them a time to adjust to what's taking place, and they have to comprehend and take this education serious. Otherwise, we're just going to keep having the same old, same old. So I know it's
Now that
hard,
that
to learn.
aspect you mentioned here, we have to give them the time. So that's another aspect that you peacekeepers on the ground will have to gauge. When do you move them to the next step? It's like you're going to have your first conversation, but as you're having your conversations, you have to be able to gauge when they're ready to talk about this next conversation. And it's not going to be the same for everyone you visit. So the deployment is going to be varied in your conversations and who you send out, the next person to
Right.
send out. Mhm.
Well, I foresee it as more of like a 30, 60, 90 type of approach. Um, just speaking, militarily from that era of my life, 30, 60, 90 is it's kind of like a crawl, walk, run type of a deal where first I'm sending out some notices, I'm doing a follow-up call, then I'm scheduling a meeting. I have that sit down peacefully, try to explain to them what's going on, how these things are conflicts, how they're emolument violations, how they're unconstitutional, all those types of things. Show them some documentation, validating what I'm saying. And then the finalization of that approach is where you have a final follow-up meeting with them. Hey, where are you guys at? Have you been having sit downs with your guys? Have you been having all your watch commanders over each of your shifts, getting this information out, passing it down? Uh, how's the dissemination of this information been going? How can I assist from here? This is where the PSOA advocates get involved, and that's where any continued stuff, education wise, would take place from that point on. I would kick it over to them. After that 90 days, that's it. These guys get hot headed and they're just not comprehending what we're talking about. That's when the actions will start.
You only give them 90 days? That's all they get?
90 days.
Okay. Now you all also have, now you said the education. Now you all also have a platform that you're working on too. The PSO is this platform that you have going to have the education that they can go to and learn stuff?
Absolutely. Yeah. The website will have hyperlinks and all types of various things. If Denise is on, she can speak to that. She's kind of helping. I know what I initially tried to build. I'm still coding the front end of it, but basically it's just a wheelhouse of knowledge. You go on there, there's all types of stuff, kind of like Anna's page, where you can just go grab information, for whatever the topic. For instance, USC, then and now. Okay, well, when it first started, we're talking about people. We're not talking about US citizens. So what happened from there until now? And so they'll be able to kind of get caught up because I know in their Libre code training, it just doesn't really get too much into the constitutionality of things. They get very basic, high level knowledge of the Fourth and Fifth Amendment, for unlawful searches and seizures. What does it mean? The Fifth Amendment. Well, I can invoke my right to remain silent. But we know that lady Miranda that they keep speaking of, that's Miranda v. Arizona. That's been off and on suspended since the 90s. I don't know if you know that or not. So
Mm.
I've seen people get arrested. They haven't been Mirandized. It's because, some people know that it's suspended, some people don't. So it's just one of those things. I mean, I usually ask them, who's Miranda and what does she have to do with this? You know,
Mhm,
but
mhm,
that, you can only be humorous with those who will entertain it.
mhm, mhm. Okay. Denise, did you want to speak about the platform?
Sure, just really quickly on the platform
Uh-oh, you froze.
they are out is being able to, I'm sorry.
Oh, you froze. You go on now. Go ahead.
All right. Key to our outreach is going to be discussing this with our I'll call it in close team. So people that have already papered up to be as ASN. How do we get to all those people? I believe that there's got to be some kind of conversation for the PSO to access for public safety all of the LROs on all the states, because there are multitudes of states and a few people I've talked to away from the court. So if we can get to those people and get to those LROs, that's going to be our thousands of people that are excited to hear our message. And we can get those people trained much quicker than someone who maybe is just coming into this for the first time. The other model county tour that I'm doing right now is social media. I'm trying to connect with people in other counties and through social media, asking them, would you mind if I send you this poster? Could you post it in
You
your
froze.
county on that? And so, yeah, we're just trying to reach out to the people that we do know who are interested, and that is key. So if we can motivate them, there are thousands of ASNs sitting right now and having no idea this conversation's going on, or that they can be involved, because for months and years they haven't been involved. To the point where even on our own assembly, one of the first things I did at the beginning
You're
of
going in
this
and
year
out.
is EFG account. So, oh, I'm sorry. So I'll just say quickly, yes. If you want information about how to get a sheriff on your county or state, we've got to start with the ASNs, and that is all the ASNs. So we need to reach out to them on the LROs and find a way to do that. I yield.
Mhm. Okay. Thanks, Denise. Rave?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I just wrote down a few notes about what has just been said. Okay, so first, what I wrote was about the PSOA. So what I see them doing is serving the notices. They serve the notice, and then the PSO, they go and have the meeting. Okay, and then if the PSOA, so basically how I see it, if however, whatever kind of timeline we use, I actually think 90 days is generous. But we can do 90 days. So we could do 30 days for the first notice, uh, 60 days for the second notice, and then the third notice will just be, okay, well, this contract is now a valid contract. It's been settled, and this is what happens from here on out. So that is what I wrote for that. As far as the emolument violations, from what I have been researching, the way I believe we should set this up is as constitutional or constitutional violations, or violations that are violate the Declaration of Independence. So for the emolument violation, which is Article 1, Section 9, Clause 8 of the Constitution, no title of nobility shall be granted by the United States, and no person holding any office of profit or trust under them shall, without the consent of the Congress. So it doesn't say that they shouldn't. It says that they should have the consent of the Congress, except of any present emolument, office, or title of any kind whatever from any king, prince, or foreign state. So the issue that I see is that we have a conflict of interest with the people that are in the territorial government and what we're trying to do. That is why I believe if we go in and say, hey, um, they'll say, well, you didn't, and I guarantee you, this is what they're going to say. You didn't vote in our elections. You're not one of us. But what if we did vote in the election? Not only do we have a say in who they choose as the ruler of the United States citizens or the citizens of the United States, not only do we have that door closed, but we can also pull our rank. And another thing, so the Fifth Amendment violation would go to the deprivation of rights, which is USC Title 18, USC 42, I believe. I have it right here in front of me. But with the deprivation of rights under color of law, and I'm going to read the Fifth Amendment. No person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on a presentment or indictment. No, nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. So when they infringe on our right, our birth certificate, when they sign our children up, we have a child and that child is signed off with a birth certificate. We can go in and say, okay, that's illegal, but we can also say, okay, you took my child, where's our money? There's supposed to be a just compensation, and we know that they made some money. So for the continued registration of these birth certificates, they owe money right now today. Okay? That is one thing we have to remember. They owe the money right now. So they got nowhere to run. Even if they keep doing it, they're just going to owe some more money. We will make them stop because this is going to be extremely expensive for them. And another thing, so the video that Denise, I do think it's a great video that we should look at. I'm hoping it's called yourlaw.org. And it talks about the steps of arbitration, and he ties it directly back to the Bible. So as Jesus is teaching, which has always been my stance, Jesus is telling us how to look at the law. And I'm sorry, y'all, if I'm getting on your nerves about biblical stuff, but it is very relevant. So he's talking about arbitration. And I don't know if you remember in the Bible, by one or two people is a thing established. By one or two witnesses is a thing established. So he's bringing it up. When you arbitrate, if you have a problem with your brother, you go speak to your brother. If your brother listens to you, then you won over your brother. You don't have to do anything else. But if your brother be against you, then you take a witness. These are steps in arbitration. So then if the witness thing doesn't work, so you take the witness to establish the facts of the matter, okay? Because now you have witnesses. This is what my brother said to me. These are my witnesses. Now you can bring that matter in court. Now there's a new contract and you start the conditional acceptance. So, and something else he brought up, as it is in heaven, so it is on earth. Whatever is bound on earth is bound in heaven. So what we bind here now is what will be bound in the next realm. That is how the world moves. So as much work, I know it's a lot of work and it is a heavy burden, but as much work as we can get done here on earth, then we will have an even more perfect paradise to retire to when it is time. And I yield.
Thank you, Rave. Richard?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yep, we
Thank
can hear
you.
you okay.
Just a couple quick things. One thing I wanted to ask real quick of Andrew and Adam, how were you guys said you had conversations with various factual agents, agencies, sheriffs, police officers, police department heads, or whichever. How were those conversations received? I mean, how did they react? Were they like, oh yeah, right, yeah, sure, go ahead, you hold your election and you're going to be a sheriff, ha ha ha, yep, good thing. You know, did they take it as a joke, or what kind of recognition have they given you actually from that? I yield.
Well, you want me to go, Adam, first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, when I first went to the commercial sheriff, and broke the ice. He was interested, but just knowing people, you can tell he was holding things back, like he knew more than he was letting on about the stuff I was telling him. That was in the back of my mind for a while. But then when I went in with my uniform on, he kind of received, it went well. But when he seen, I brought all my receipts with me, the copies of our election process that we filed in the newspaper, that you run to make it lawful. Copies of that, copies of the results, just all this stuff. And you could see it just weighing on him, and things went good. So then with the police chiefs, it varied, a lot of them are really I'm not saying interested, but they wanted to know more, wanted to know more about it, so just talk to them about what's going on. And, the second time that I would visit them all, I went a little step further. And, there was times where, like you could tell, my county is pretty rural. So the smaller little towns and their police chiefs went really well. But our county seat is the biggest city we have, and those guys, they just have that different temperament where their shit don't stink, and so it went okay. It went good. But like Adam was saying before, when I told them guys, when they were asking me what would happen if they did this or that, and I said, well, we would kick down your door just like you do us. That's when it went off the rails, and I told him, it's just funny to see these guys' faces when they think they're so in power, and have someone step up and talk to them the way I talk to them. They just, they look so weird. It's funny. Like, how can you do this? How can you talk to us like that? And I don't know.
Mhm.
So there was a different kinds of reactions from everybody, but overall went great, really, and I'm moving on from that. And, from the time I've started, I've learned so much more, and I'm so much more confident. Now that's what I guess I would tell to everybody, because we got other people in Ohio that are sheriffs that still are trying to reach out to their commercial sheriffs. And that first time you meet them, all that fear goes away, because you just realize you're sitting in front of another person, another man or another woman, and just talk. You know what to do. We're all grown ups, Yeah. So that's what I got.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you very
Yeah.
much. I appreciate that, guys. Thank you. The
Very
reason I
much.
asked that is because I'm trying to put together, I'm trying to run a script through in my head so I can practice and getting prepared for those conversations myself on Illinois. So I appreciate what you guys have done. Thank you very much. I
No
yield.
problem.
Yeah, a lot of the same. A lot of surprised looks on faces, like, who are you? Well, you're not the sheriff. No, that type of thing. And usually you just got to talk them off the ledge because, they don't comprehend. They've been indoctrinated. So,
Mhm. Thank you. Thanks, Adam and Andrew. I'm sure that gives those peacekeepers inspiration, like, okay, y'all doing it. Give me some tips, right, Richard? Give me some tips. So we're gonna get some more tips. We're winding it down here. It's a little bit past 5:30 my time. So moving on with the agenda here. I'm thinking transitioning the strategy task force sessions. I think the strategy task force members at this point, we're turning the page. Your job is completed as far as getting the strategy on paper. It's a great strategy. All the little tentacles are there. I don't think we can put anything more in there that's going to make that's make it any better at this point. We have to put it to the test now. So I'm going to transition from the strategy task force members and relieve you guys of your volunteer service there, and thank you for that. And then we're going to move into what I'm calling the resurgence coordination team meetings. What is that? This is where the groups of players that needs to make this resurgence outreach project work will start meeting together. And the players are these: the county assembly outreach chair or the county assembly organizer, coordinator, somebody in that realm from the county assembly, the state assembly outreach chair, the county reeve, and that could be from any counties in that state, the liaison, whether it's the state liaison or the county liaison, the state assembly militia commander, and the deputy continental marshals. That is the resurgence coordination team. Those are the different offices that will be going out spearheading the tours. That team need to get together to coordinate their efforts. So the strategy task force will be transitioned from the strategy task force to resurgence coordination team meetings. So the schedule will be changed to this starting in 2 weeks. We got the monthly outreach think tank meetings. That's where all the assemblies can come and get any answers to questions that they might have regarding the project itself. The project strategies, the project materials. If you have any questions about the materials, you find an error or something that you think is inaccurate, that's where you come to let me know. That's where I go to let you know of the changes that have been made. When I correct things, I will let the International Outreach Think Tank know what I've corrected and re-upload it on the ICE drive. That meeting is monthly. So all the assemblies can come there who are out there doing their tours and have questions about the project materials. Then PSO, I want to know if you could coordinate with me and scheduling some training sessions. Now you're starting with the emolument training or information and stuff like that. I get it. I get where you're going with that. Do you all have already a scheduled time of when you all meet? Adam? Or Andrew? Now I meet on Sundays, but that may not be a good time for you guys. I don't know. I can't hear Andrew or Adam. Oh, did y'all leave me? Let me see my notes here. The next, I'll let them get to me here. So that will be a separate meeting for the Peacekeepers to get training on how we're going to execute that plan from the Peacekeeper standpoint. I don't know if it'll be on a Sunday like the Sundays we have here or not. I need to know what Andrew and Adam, when they meet. So I see you, Andrew. Do y'all meet already?
We've just had just a couple, it's just getting started. So preliminaries, getting things organized and stuff. Adam would be in charge of all that. He is the top dog, if you want to say. So I just take orders from him.
Okay. So I'll get with Adam and see what days we can get that scheduled. When the Peacekeepers will come together and start in this strategy that he's saying. Then, and I don't know if that'll be on the Sundays like they are now. But the last scheduling change here would be on the Sundays will be the monthly model counties meeting. And this is where the resurgence coordination teams will meet. So your counties, and I'm leaning on the model counties to rally the other counties. So it would be a meeting for all counties. But the model counties are going to spearhead these meetings. Now, I mentioned to you all earlier in a couple of meetings, I gave you a little peek at what I'm trying to do here. Remember the Congress and training idea? I want to put it in you all's court to spearhead the rallying together of the counties as the United States and how we're going to move forward in this outreach into our counties to reconstruct our county governments and now our towns governments. So we will continue the model counties meetings. It's usually, and it's once a month on every other Sunday. Not every 2 Sundays, but it's going to now transition into the resurgence coordination team meeting. So your county assembly with those different officers, the outreach committee chair, your state assembly outreach chair, your county reeve, your liaison, your militia commander, and your deputy continental marshal, if they're all want to coordinate with you. And I'm saying with the county, because the county has to reach in and the county has to reach out. They're in the middle. So the model counties are going to be spearheading this, but it's going to be the meeting, the resurgence coordination teams meeting. It's going to be for every county. The model counties will just be helping to spearhead getting this together and disseminating the information of how all these different offices need to coordinate together and get this done. So that's going to start, this new change in our scheduling is going to start the next meeting, which is August 10th. Our next meeting, August 10th, will be our first resurgence coordination teams meeting #1, where these groups of offices from that particular state is asked to come together and coordinate this outreach effort. That's what we're going to be discussing August 10th. So model counties, those of you who are here and listening to the replay, communicate with your state assemblies, communicate with the counties in your area that's on your state assemblies. Let them know that we are working to get the coordination teams together so that that county assembly can get organized and that county assembly can start to get out into the communities in that county and let the townspeople know it's time that they accept the duty of self-governing and declare themselves an American town. So all this that we have to learn, like Richard said, how to get our speech together, what our conversation is going to be like. That's what the coordination teams meeting is going to be about. So starting August 10th, we're going to have the model counties resurgence coordination teams, and it's going to be once a month. And in between there, hopefully I'll talk to Adam to see if we can have the PSO execution training meeting for the Peacekeepers. So I would go on the same schedule. Every other Sunday would be the same schedule. Just the topics are going to be more honed in now. We're getting more on the boots on the ground conversation and execution and how it actually is working. We're not envisioning and strategizing anymore. We're getting boots on the ground and putting it to test. That's what we're transitioning into. I'm going to transition from interim reports to post reports. And that's just what the name I'm thinking about. Post reports, where I want to start saying how things are happening and the mindsets that we are shifting into, the space of governance that we are shifting into, to talk about that to everybody. So that's what I'm thinking about doing as far as my interim reports, making them more like post reports and possibly making that be part of our platform, because we have to shift now into reporting the news of what's happening on the ground. That is what I was thinking about when I'm thinking about the post reports. So August 10th, our next meeting would be the resurgence coordination teams with the model counties, and August 24th is our PSO, Peacekeepers and Sheriffs Organization, Peacekeepers Execution Training #1. That would be the first one. And that is the meeting where all our peacekeepers come. Just like this one is the meeting for all our peacekeepers to come. Now, and I heard the strategy of the emoluments violations come first. So Adam and Andrew is going to teach us how to step out with that strategy first before we get to telling them about the public laws and transferring the governance. Before we get there, we have to lay some foundation first. And I heard that. So that's what let's go with that. Because I'm not a peacekeeper, so I'm not out there doing the work. You all tell me, okay? I'm going to put with you all, give you all the PKTF training reference guide. I'm gonna send it out with the replay. I want you all to look it over so we can finalize it and send it back with any suggested changes to it, so we can get it approved and get it uploaded to the ICE drive so that our PKTF liaisons and our militia commanders, all you people will be able to use it when you go out there and have these conversations. So I'll send that out, and I want you all to review that and send me back any edits so we can finalize that. All right, so Kimberly, we're winding it down. Go ahead, Kimberly.
Thank you. I appreciate you. I'm sorry I was tardy this evening. I was just caught up in a couple things. May I share screen just a moment? There's a resource that I would like to share with you all just a moment. I think that Andrew and Adam and any of our marshals and sheriffs are going to be interested. What I've run into here, and again, I can't quite, okay, hold on. I've got an error. Please try later. Okay, hold on a minute. Let me see. I can try again. Well, fiddlesticks, it's not going to allow me to share. So give me a second. Let me pull it up and I can talk it through, but I won't have screen. So bear with me just a minute as I transition.
Also, you can put it in the chat and I can send it out with the replay too.
Okay. Basically, I want to get over to it so I don't misspeak here. So forgive me. What I run into here is the travel.state.gov, and it's the U.S. Department of State, the Bureau of Consular Affairs. I think that we need to put some attention here. I think that this is going to help us. What this is and what they actually have in relation to some charts that are out that I think are going to be markedly helpful for the PKTF reference guide, sort of like what Boyd brought forward with some of the internal documents. They have a whole thing on if a foreign national is arrested and their protocol. I've actually gone ahead and put out an email trying to see if I can get some information. But they basically have a manual here on how they have to treat us. And it was done last in September of 2018. And it is really a most interesting thing to go through. And I think if we were to sweep through that, we could basically get it updated for the 2025 timeframe because some of it directly talks about exactly what we are and who we are. So this would be their own manual that I think we could access to do that. And as I said, they have flow charts that are on there to basically walk somebody through how it's arresting a non-US citizen, and it's a chart how they do that. And then there's also mandatory notification countries. And so what I have gone ahead and done is I'm trying to find out right now how we as the state assemblies can become immediately notified if we have one of our state nationals go down or, having a problem here, that we would get notified immediately. So there's some things here that are most interesting and I think might be a really powerful unlock for us to basically, as Adam was saying, take their own documents to them and show how we fit into them. And with the consular affairs, there's big, just in the stuff that I was looking at, my mind sort of exploded with it about the number of possibilities for us to be able to really affect many things on how we basically demand our treatment. And so I'm looking into that, and I just wanted to let others know, especially for running into the arresting. And I know we've been talking in the PKTF liaison training about the potentiality of having roadside assistance for liaisons at some point if one of ours is detained, pulled over, whatever, that we can, at least help them know what their options are, not give lawful counsel or anything, but let them, know this and help to get them where they need to be. But that would also be mandatory reporting if one of ours got detained by them. It would be mandatory reporting to us and potential helping to avoid any disasters or harm that would come to our men and women. So I just wanted to put that out as I've just discovered this, and I thought that it might be worthy, especially for the PKTF reference material and some of the inside stuff, as it were, to take it to them and be able to show them, hey, we need to make some corrections on this. Some of it's right, some of it needs perfecting, and help get that put into place. So thank you for letting me speak to that. I will try and copy and paste and drop that in real quickly for you all. And there's actually 4 links I'll try and drop in. So Richard, talk for a minute so you can buy me a time to get a couple of these in. Thank you. I yield.
Thank you, Kimberly. Go ahead, Richard.
Thank you. Actually, I wanted to ask Kimberly a question. You said that was travel.state.gov was the website I thought I heard mentioned?
Yes, I'm going to grab it right now and put it into
That's
the
fine.
chat to make sure.
Wanted
But
to make
yes,
sure I had
that's
it
what I
written
read
down.
at the top. Yeah.
Fantastic.
And what I found was the interesting part is when you go to the very bottom page, And it's the very, very last possible link that you can click. And it was, give me 1 second. I just want to look at it so I can direct you better. I'm sorry, 1 second. I'm having a struggle to get it back up a moment.
Now, this document that you're talking about, on the department that you're talking about, the consular affairs, that will be a department that the PKTF directorate and our part of the Resurgence Project will be communicating with.
Okay.
Department of State. Mhm.
Okay, give me a second here. That's one thing. Let me go back and get another thing.
And this
So-
would be in the area of diplomatic immunity, that type of conversation that we need to have at the federal level.
Yes, status and standing. But what happens is, and why this becomes very interesting, is that there is a state correspondent document for the police. And so it is actually our law on state that will that intermingles with this. So that's where it can be an approach both directions. So I wanted to just start to connect the dots on that here. 1 second. Basically what it is, if you go to the home page and at the very, very bottom of the page, I'm going to get the exact title. It's loading in right now. In the blue section where it says legal resources, it says info for U.S. law enforcement. That's the tab that will take you over to the next page, which is the consular notification access, and it's mandatory. And so they've got some interesting things there. And then there's a blue box that's just down below that will give you the pocket reference card, the consular notification flow charts, the access to the manual that basically tells how they need to be treating us. So as I said, there is a corresponding state, and I'm sorry, I don't think I have ours up. I have it up, but I can't find it fast enough here. But I went to ours, and there is a corresponding
You want me to give me that email, that URL? I'll show it here.
I put one in, let's see, that's the PDF. I put one in the chat. Let me grab another one here for you. So sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I will go ahead and attach the PDF and the links to the replay, so you all have it. Yep, I have this one.
Okay, there's another one for you. 1 more second, trying to get it back up.
And another person who's working on this too, Kimberly, might want to connect with, that's Tim Ottaway on Colorado.
Okay.
He actually, he gave me this document too. And I had it before him, and then he gave it to me. Now you're giving it to me. So
Well,
this
means
document.
something. That last one I just put in was the flow chart for the if you're arresting, what they're supposed to be asking. And so the travel content one, yep, there you go.
Okay.
And then there's one other one, forgive me, I'm grabbing it now.
No, I am not a US citizen. What do you do next? Yeah, the PKTF liaisons are being trained on this aspect of assisting on roadside stops and things like that, being able to verify that they are American state nationals. So I'll pass this. I think Boyd had to leave or got kicked out or something.
No problem.
I'll give this to him.
Perfect. But what I've actually gone ahead and done is I had contacted them just because I started asking questions and am asking both in the personal private nature and also in nature of how does one get to be one of these mandatory noticed, units, basically. What I would like to have all the paperwork that, one has to complete to, be eligible for this. So we'll see what kind of response I get. And yeah, I'll keep you informed. But I did think that this might be worthy of bringing to you all with the reference guide. It might be material that could be helpful. So thank you for allowing me to have a few minutes. I'm so sorry I took us longer. Thank you. I yield.
You're so welcome. Thank you for bringing it to our attention. I know the one thing that we had, I know me and Tim was having a conversation about is that word embassy and consulate. We know this is our land, so we don't have an embassy or a consulate. So we have to find out what the language is that we have to use. But yeah, this is one of the documents we were looking into. Any other questions or anything else before we go? Okay. Well, you all have a good evening, and Adam and Andrew, I'll be checking in with you guys to see what the scheduling is going to be with you all. Okay. I'll send out the
good.
replay either today or it should be today. And any of the attachments that we talked about here today. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. You all have a good evening. Okay.
Thanks,
Have a good night.
Louise.
Thank you.